Morning, Truther family. Bosco Nick with Find Your Truth, and I have 3 interesting subjects to disclose to the American people, or we the people. Like I said in my last video, don't mind me. Just got off my 3rd shift job, slave job. Of course, we're all enslaved. We have to taxate, pay those tyrantcy taxes, and we could all be accepting straight money instead of currency, and being wealthy instead of accepting a percentage. Anyway, I'd like to hit 3 specific subjects: re-education, indoctrination, concentration. Re-education. From the time you're born, okay, or like the corporation likes to say, you're birthed. That's a whole nother subject. Look that up. From the time you're birthed, and that you can go to your indoctrination center, get to that part soon. Give me a second. Making notes as I go. So you're being re-educated. So what does re-educated mean? Just kind of think about it. You're being taught an idea. Okay, so number 1, it's an idea. Does it make it right for that idea to be a law? That's a whole nother subject and video. Keep in mind, it's an idea. To re-educate somebody to think like somebody else, you must make them think that same idea. So what else does re-educate mean? Besides thinking the same idea. Maybe making that idea into a reality. Okay, so they perceive this idea, they re-educate people into thinking this idea, and they try to make it a reality. Okay, now how do they make this reality into society? Well, they have to indoctrinate everybody. And how do you do that? Education. Okay, so re-education is an idea to make the idea a reality through society, through education. Okay? So, now that we have you there, let's move on to the next subject. Indoctrination. Well, what is indoctrination? Well, as we like to call school. What is school? What are many meanings in terms of school? Matter of fact, what is the original term? Original. What is the original breakdown psychology terminology of the word school? You were educated. Educated by whom? By what? Okay, so within indoctrination, there's no question. No question. You are what you're taught. So, as you're thrown into this re-education, you're taught an idea. The idea is perceived into reality. The reality is perceived through education. So this way, multiple minds can receive perceive the reality. Perceive the reality of the re-education through this indoctrination. But you don't ask questions about it until you ask yourself questions. How do I find the answer? Then you start to see things. That's what they don't like. That's when you're in this type of reality, you don't perceive this reality until you're about, well, I'm going to say 28 years old. Maybe 27. Average. So, the average man doesn't actually perceive the knowledge of what's going on until roughly about 27 to 30 years old. Then you start asking questions. Okay, so you start asking questions, and now what? Now, everything that that was me. I'll start barking. Now, everything that they've taught you through your re-education, through the idea, through the reality, through education, through no questioning, just basic, you do as we tell you. Dictatorship, teaching you to be the perfect slave in the dictatorship. And you're realizing this now. So, concentration. What do you think? No. They couldn't allow you possibly to walk to and from your home and to do all this stuff freely. Without putting you in a concentration camp in your mind. Okay? They do this, and concentration is to facilitate in groups. That's why you go to school. That's why you congregate. That's why people are bound in towns and cities. And then they say the world is overpopulated. Gee, I wonder why. Because you've compounded everybody into these little rural and suburb and city-like areas, and you've just pounded us in there and say we can't touch the land and it's private. Let's get rid of privatization. Can't you just ask permission? If seen, just be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I don't mean any harm. And as long as you show you don't mean any harm, okay, I'm going to put my whatever away, my personal protection device, whatever it may be. I'll put it away. I'm going to show you I mean no harm." What's wrong with that? Okay, as long as you show that, that's the boundary of law of the land. No harm, no loss, no crime. Okay? Don't commit harm upon someone else. They don't commit harm upon you. It just should be common. Should be. That's how it was supposed to be. Not, "Oh, well, if you decide to smoke a little bit of this or drink a little bit of that, and we're going to prohibition a little bit of this, and we're going to prohibition a little bit of that, or prohibition some, and we're going to ban this and ban your gun rights and ban these bump stocks and these silencers because they're so bad." They don't have that capacity unless you give it to them. Okay? They're working outside of their capacity. Plain and simple. There's no other language to go beyond that barrier besides they're working beyond their capacity. That's it. How can I prove that? Constitution. I shouldn't have to go any further. You read it. You decide for yourself. That's it. Plead the fifth. End of discussion. You say nothing further. Except for the First Amendment. If the First Amendment doesn't accord to them, well, then that's why the Founding Fathers reminded you, not gave you, they reminded you of your Second Amendment. I'm not saying you have to get violent with people, but that's only if they get violent with you. That's why I said there's a cordial response, a positive vibration there should be between people. There ain't no more. They made everything sound so bad because the winners of wars decide what history sounds like. So, upon all this, I hope you've educated yourself a little bit. I've educated myself a little bit. I've tried to. And I will accept anyone else's responses. And please like, share, subscribe, and support the PayPal or don't. It's up to you. Everything is up to you. No one can ever tell you what you need to do. So I want you to remember that. Just keep that basic thing in mind and keep your basic rules of thumb in mind. No harm, no loss, no crime. Bosco Nick will find your truth, and I hope you find your truth. Like, share, subscribe, and support the PayPal or don't. Have a nice day.